Now we'll be doing the airflow test on one of these Kenmore 800 series. This is actually the second one of these I've had. I figured now that I have more space and, I'm doing videos on things, I would, wouldn't mind picking up another one of these. Strangely, there's no included floor tool. They have this brush that usually sits here. Oh, yeah. Just like that. Doesn't come with an upholstery tool, and the brushes on here are not removable like they were on some of the older Kenmores. The design of these things reminds me of this image I once saw of this car that had this kind of bulging look to it, and it said something along the lines of, when you fart in a smart car. Because, this design to me just looks bloated. But, as you can see, it uses something called an inducer motor, which is not like an induction motor, but rather that it has kind of an oddly shaped fan on it. I'll show you a picture of what I'm talking about. Now, as you can see, the vanes on the front of it are like sloped, to the inlet. And the fan itself is actually really small. There's a fair amount of dead space in there, kind of like the Inducer motors I've seen in other Kenmores and Panasonics. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Why wouldn't you want a larger fan? But anyways, we have a new Hepa filter in here. This unit was very, very dirty, as seems to be the case for a lot of Kenmores. I thought that wasn't locked in. And this actually has like the record for airflow at the hose end. We got just a little bit of stuff in there, but certainly not much. Probably just from running the machine. But I'd love to be able to take an airflow measurement, at the machine right here, but you have to have the hose on these to run them. So, unfortunately, that's not possible, because I have a suspicion that due to the size of the fan, these things don't have that much raw airflow to them. I think it's more, that they have a larger diameter hose to them. So, I think that attributes a lot of its airflow to it. But you have to have that in there, and then we have a variable speed right here. We're not plugged in yet. Yeah, I've taken this unit apart, washed the hose out even, and yeah. So let's plug this in, and first off, take our voltage and wattage. And we're just going to measure this on high. So. And now I've got the power nozzle attached, so let's run it with that too. So before we get carried a little too far on here, why don't we take a look at the power nozzle, because I know in my previous testing there was a pretty significant power drop between like the wand and the power nozzle. And part of it is because we have a lot of swivels, moving parts and otherwise. So of course we have the side-to-side swivel there, we have, you know, that, and then this having the crossover nozzle. It you know, connects via this little seal down here, and I just think all of these kind of contribute to lower numbers at the nozzle. I mean, it still gets pretty good flow with the nozzle, but I mean, the suction dropped off significantly. So, oh, and you know, when I got this unit, the motor sounded a little bit funny. And I was like, oh great, the bearings must be going, but I noticed that it wasn't the sound of a bearing. And it turns out what it was there was a little piece of what I assume is glass that got caught in the fan, or caught in the fan chamber, I should say. Because it wasn't like stuck on anything, it just couldn't escape. There was nowhere big enough for the shard of glass to go. So you would hear it kind of getting moved around that chamber. But anyways, I think we should move on. So I've gotten about 125 previously at the hose end from one of these. I would assume this one will perform similarly, so let's start it up. There's a lot of leaking. Even wrapping it with plastic isn't giving us a whole lot more. Well, now I got the wand attached, so let's take the airflow at the end of here. Seems to be about it. Alright. So I can tell we're definitely leaking around the button lock here, but still only getting around 60-ish. Alright, brush rolls off. Doesn't seem like we're moving any. So, take the suction. I think that's right about where we sat with the previous test. And then you can hear a lot of leaking. You can feel air leaking all around this nozzle, around the pedals. So now let's turn the nozzle on. Very quiet nozzle. It's got like a I'm thinking it's a DC motor in here. I don't really know for sure. That appears to have matched it. Yeah, maybe it's just me, but it's like it, you know, it has a lot of, you know, in terms of its numbers, it does fairly well, but it's like, I just don't see that really reflected in the cleaning performance of this machine. Because, I mean, it's got, oh, I don't know, it was probably in the higher 70s, maybe in the 80s even, for the airflow at the nozzle, but it's like, you know, I noticed that it wasn't picking up a lot of things on the forward stroke, or at least a fair amount of things, and then even on the backstroke it continues to leave things behind. So it's definitely not a very efficient design. I think some of the older designs they had, like the old Hayden heads they had, were probably more effective. At least they certainly seemed to be when I used, like, my Royal power tank. They had one of the 3-row Hayden brush holes on it, and that did just fine. But this was not as impressive. But, you know, it is what it is.